Bonjour, Dr. David Suzuki.
Good to be here.
Usually tomorrow is not been a cause. It's been a real pleasure meeting you and spending some time with you this morning while you're in Thunder Bay. I sit on the Blue Dot campaign here in Thunder Bay.
Thank you.
And have always been in support of what we're doing with Mother Earth and trying to teach our young children. I work with the youth and the children of our community. Do you have some advice to give?
Yes, I do. And you know, the issues of Indigenous people across this country involve social justice and you know, the fight against racism. There are all of these issues. But I look to first Indigenous people for a much more profound thing. We in the non-Indigenous community have lost our way. We don't have a sense of where we belong. And so when we look out at the world, what we see is opportunity. And this has, you know, been a long time happening ever since the discovery of North America. The colonizers have come in. And it's like my grandparents. My grandparents came to Canada between 1904 and 1906. And they came from Japan because they were poor and they were not educated. But they heard there was opportunity here. So they came and they knew it was a one-way trip. They were never going back to Japan. But they came for the opportunity. And they knew if they worked hard, they'd be able to buy land. But they didn't know anything about the Indigenous people, so they didn't care. They knew nothing about the Indigenous plants and animals, but they brought their ideas of what were, you know, useful plants and animals and tried to make it over the way they wanted. And everything was, if there were fish on the land, catch them and sell them, cut the trees down, sell them, grow vegetables and sell, like, it was all, I can exploit the land. And so we've got ourselves in a real mess with that attitude because there hasn't been a reciprocity that every Indigenous people understands. That when you accept this gift, we have this wonderful gift from Mother Earth. That brings a responsibility too. You don't just take without a sense of I've got a responsibility. But Indigenous communities, however dysfunctional and tough the situations are, they still have that understanding of the connection to the land that we don't have. And I believe that we are, certainly for me, my wife and I and our children, have come to Indigenous communities saying, thank you for offering to share the information you have. So I say to young people, learn that culture, keep the culture alive, that sense of connection. That's thousands of years old. We can't afford to lose that culture because I think that we in the non-Indigenous community are going to start coming to you and say, please show us. Show us what it means to be respectful and grateful to Mother Earth. Teach us. And I think that it will be an opportunity then for youth that have that knowledge they've learned from their elders to become teachers. And I think, you know, that could be the huge role and opportunity for Indigenous people, that we're going to be looking for them and saying, yes, we want a program for our young kids to come here, spend time with you and learn. That's the most important lesson we need to learn all over the world now.
I love your vest.
I do too. And you know, for anyone that's done beadwork, you notice how tiny the beads are. This is very fine work, right?
Yes, it is.
This is half a moose hide. When I get on a plane, the smell of the smoked moose hide goes right through the plane. I was in Delaney, which is First Nation Indigenous community on the shores of Great Bear Lake, and I was invited there to an annual meeting. And I met a woman who sewed this, and I said, I want that. And I bought it, and I'm very proud of it. But I was so happy to learn about the Delaney people. This is 700 people. We had a 3-day conference. The entire conference was in their language. There were young people, old people, they were all there. They really had their act together. And here they are living on the shores of this great lake. There's no rivers or creeks coming into it, and yet water is pouring out of it at one end. So they say that they believe that that lake is the heart of the world, that it is pumping water, that it's coming out of that heart and being pumped to the rest of the world. And because of that, they have this tremendous responsibility. They have never allowed a commercial fishery in the lake. They have got rid of all of they used to have uranium mines and mines around the lake. They stopped them and got rid of them. And that lake is just full of big lake trout right there at the edge of their village. They are taking care of Great Bear Lake for the world. I mean, they're grateful that it gives them this wonderful water and all of these fish. But they feel that they have a responsibility because that heart is pumping the water to the whole world.
Absolutely.
It's a great... so I'm very pleased with our visit to Delaney, and I hope to go back there again.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah.
I hope you do. I'm from Treaty 3, and I know that Grassy Narrows has fought long and hard
Yes.
in their battle and standing their ground. Any word?
I am ashamed as a Canadian. I am ashamed that the people around Grassy Narrows have suffered exactly the same thing as the people in Minamata. In Japan, a soy sauce company called Chiso, was dumping their wastes full of mercury into the bay, and we learned of Minamata disease then. And the experts from Japan have come over and said, yes, that's what the people of Grassy Narrows are suffering, and this is back, over 40 years ago. And that stuff they dumped in the river is still there. That could be cleaned up. We have the technology to clean it up. All it will take is a commitment and money. And I believe that money is the thing that's held it up, and that's absolutely shameful for Canadians, that we would allow a company to do this and then back off of having any responsibility. What about the people that live there? I mean, it's outrageous. But the technology is there to do it for less than $1 billion. And I say, let's stop wasting time, because there are human lives that are paying the price for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's disgraceful.
Thank you so much.
No.
Just a second.
Miigwech?
Right on.
I don't know that one.
Miigwech.